Woo! Nothing quite like starting a video out with some cinematic goodness. With that being said, what's up guys? It's your boy Ricardo Neiva, otherwise known as Cine, and today is the first episode of me learning how to fly a drone. Let's hit the intro. Cool, so if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I posted a story on my Instagram explaining that I got a new drone and asking you guys whether you would be interested in seeing a whole series where I learned to fly a drone. And you guys said yes, so this is the first episode, and in this episode we're gonna be talking about the drone itself. So without further ado, meet the DJI Mavic Pro, my baby. It does not have a name yet. I would like to let you guys help me decide on a name. So leave a comment right now what you think I should name my DJI Mavic Pro. So before we jump into the DJI Mavic Pro, I need to let you guys know that this drone was bought secondhand. So it's not straight out of the box, so I can't really show you what I got from the box and what comes included in the box. But we are gonna be talking about what my initial impression of the DJI Mavic Pro and the controller is, as well as jumping into what the DJI Mavic Pro is able to do based on the specifications that DJI has on their website. So first impression. It was very polite, said hi, I said hi back, we hugged. It was very, very neutral. No, I'm joking. So let's talk about my initial impressions of the DJI Mavic Pro. So holding the DJI Mavic Pro, I can honestly say that the quality feels phenomenal. It feels sturdy, it feels durable, it doesn't feel like it's gonna be flimsy, it feels like it's gonna be able to handle itself in case of drastic emergencies that we hope will never happen. Aside from the build quality, the drone itself is very easy to set up so that you can get your drone up and running as quickly as possible. From installing the propellers all the way to just how the legs extend so that your drone can go into flight. Everything is very simple, very well built, and just super efficient, which is exactly what I want to see from a DJI product. Then let's talk about the remote. The remote feels really good in your hands. All the buttons are easy to access with my fingers. It feels like I'm holding a PlayStation controller, which is really nice. The remote also feels sturdy, which is very comforting for me, just in case, you know, I took a hit and I accidentally drop it, or I put my bag down just too heavy and it just takes a knock. It doesn't feel like it's gonna shatter into a million pieces, which is super important for me, that I have that feeling of safety when I'm holding this. Then just the general things of how this remote works, the extending of the arm so that you can put your screen on there doesn't change the way you hold your drone. It still feels very comfortable. The antennas are very easy to get out and ready to use. The whole thing is super efficient. Just like the drone is super good to see from a DJI product. You don't want it to be confusing and complicated. You want to be able to quickly get it out, plug in your phone, open your app. That's what came out of my mouth. Plug in your phone, open up your app, and just get ready to fly and capture that footage that you want to capture. So super phenomenal to see that from DJI. But let's talk about the drone itself. So the DJI Mavic Pro was released in September 2016, which means this year, 2021 September, it's gonna be 5 years old. Now that doesn't mean that this drone is completely useless, because as we look into the specs, the drone itself can still handle its weight in 2021. Now, obviously there's been more drones since September 2016, so obviously the newer drones have a lot more features or have just advancements into the limitations that the Mavic Pro had, but the DJI Mavic Pro is still a phenomenal drone. So let's look at these specifications. So the drone, like this, with the battery and the propellers, weighs a total weight of 734 grams, which isn't the lightest in terms of drones, but it's certainly not the heaviest. Then the drone has a total flight time of 27 minutes without winds. DJI says that obviously realistically with winds, we're looking at around 21 minutes of flight time, with the severity of the wind conditioning having a drastic impact on actually how long you can fly and whether you can fly this drone. So remember that. Then the drone itself has lower sensors so that as it's dropping, it can sense that there's nothing on the ground that it's gonna crash into, or uneven terrain that could cause the drone to land badly and then fall and break, as well as forward sensors so that as it's going forward, it doesn't crash into it. However, it doesn't have any back or side sensors, so you got to be careful as you're flying the drone backwards or side to side. Make sure that you've got a clear path so that you don't crash your drone and break it into a million gazillion pieces. Then the drone in sports mode can reach a top speed of 65 kilometers per hour, which is insane. And it can travel 13 kilometers max distance, but because it has to come back, you're actually only got about 7 kilometers there and 7 kilometers back. Especially because after 7 kilometers, you're not having feed to your controller, so bear that in mind. But it's a total 13 kilometers flight distance. This is insane for a drone that came out in 2016. Then looking at the camera, which is what we all filmmakers like to know. What can this camera do? What that camera do, yo? So looking at the sensor, we have a 1/2.3 CMOS sensor, so a tiny little bad boy is in there. But that's all right because it's a drone. We ain't expecting a 35mm full frame sensor in this drone, okay? And if you were, calm your expectations because Jesus Christ, that's way too high. Then the sensor is a 12 megapixel sensor, which isn't a 24 megapixel DSLR, but it's also not bad in the slightest. Then with the crop factor, the lens is the equivalent to 28mm on a full frame sensor, which is a nice wide lens. But for all us filmmakers out there, the real question is, what resolutions does it shoot? It can shoot 4K at 30 frames per second, but then if you go to full HD, you can shoot at 96 frames per second. However, reviews say that the 96 frames per second is a little bit iffy, so maybe just stick to 60. It's clean and you can do some nice slow-mo, even though it's not 120 or 240 frames per second that the newer drones can do. Then looking at some more technical aspects of the camera doesn't have an aperture. It only has the ability to change shutter speed, exposure compensation, and ISO. ISO has a max range of 32,000 ISO on video and 1600 on photo. Then the shutter speed can go all the way up to 8,000 and exposure compensation goes to -3 all the way to +3. That is the drone. Obviously the limitations are the fact that it doesn't have any backward sensors. It can't shoot high frames per second at 4K, 2K, or HD, with 96 being the highest. And obviously the strengths are the fact that it can shoot 4K still at 30 frames per second. It has a really good flight distance of 7 kilometers, which I don't know who's traveling 7 kilometers far with a drone, but that's nice to know. And it's got a decent battery life of 21 minutes in some decent-ish winds. With that being said, this is what my drone kit is currently looking like and what I am going to be looking to get for this drone to really maximize what I can do with this drone. So the first thing, my drone came with 2 batteries, so that's awesome. I've got about 42 minutes worth of flying with this drone, which is fantastic. It came with a multiple battery bay charger, so I'm able to charge my batteries at the same time, which helps save time and makes this battery charging process really efficient. Aside from that, it came with all the necessary cables. It came fully updated to the latest firmware that the Mavic Pro has released. Basically, everything else I needed from this Mavic Pro. Now let's talk about what I want to purchase for this drone. The first thing I want to purchase for this drone is a gimbal protector for the front. I've got the back one which holds the gimbal steady, but I want to get a protector for the front. It didn't come with the drone, so I need to purchase that. Then I want to get a set of NDs. Now obviously I can't change the aperture and the drone is able to do long exposure. However, due to the fact that I can't change my aperture, I'm going to have to use NDs in order to be able to do long exposures during the daytime. Then I want to get some extra propellers. I have 2 extra propellers in my bag right now, so I want to get another 6 just so I have spare propellers, especially because this drone has been discontinued. Getting propellers is going to be difficult. Another thing I want to get for this drone is another battery, so I can have 3 batteries and therefore get about an hour worth of flying. Anyway, that is the first episode. Remember to drop a comment about what we should name this drone. Anyway, if you want to be part of the Cine community and you want to see more of this content, don't forget to subscribe right now. It takes 3 seconds to hit that red button. Do it. 1, 2, 3. You did it. You see, 3 seconds. You're a G. You're just being awesome today. Well, you're awesome every day. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe. You know, all that funky, funny stuff. And, you know, I love your faces and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye. We found him. Sending report back. Hey, I said goodbye. I'm trying to play with my drone. Okay, I can't fly it yet. I gotta shoot that next episode. So I gotta do it like this, okay? I gotta pretend. Gosh. Whoa, 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 whoa.